We're glad you're watching Morning Express. As you see, James is all ready to go. It's all about agriculture, James, this morning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm joined on set by Gilad Milo, who's the head of administration public relations at Amiran. Good morning.
Morning.
Right. So we want to talk about agriculture this morning. Just paint for us the picture of the agriculture situation in the country today.
I would focus in the direction of the small-scale farmers for a second, because agriculture is a very wide area. We can talk coffee, tea, flowers, but let's talk food security and business for small-scale farmers. And then I would say that our situation is really good. I mean, there's a lot to smile about. Kenya is way beyond the rest of Africa in terms of what's available to farmers, in terms of finance, in terms of technology, in terms of knowledge, and in terms of the awareness of the farmers, especially the youth, to the fact that there's money to be made from agribusiness.
But there's an increasing trend, if you like, in the last, in this country, that we are reducing our farms. You know, we are making it more smaller pieces. You know, we are making buildings out of it. That appears to be the big business. Is that a danger to agriculture?
I come from Israel. The whole size of our country is smaller than Kitui. So the land mass that we use for agribusiness is much smaller than you would anywhere else. And so the kind of agriculture that we're bringing into Kenya and into Africa right now is based on grow more with less. Less water, less land, less labor. And so the plots that we're looking at that develop today much more are 1/8 of an acre, 1/4 of an acre. So we're no longer talking, when we talk small-scale farmers, medium-scale farmers, up to 10 acres, up to 15 acres. Today, any taxi driver in Kenya owns more than 10 acres. The reason they're not developing it is because they don't know what to do with it. They're not sure how to grow, and they think they have to tackle the entire 10 acres at once. So, of course, I don't have enough money. But if you start at 1/8 of an acre, 1/4 of an acre, accumulate money, learn the business, grow your market, and develop as you go, you'll grow into it.
To talk to me about what are some of the, quick things that you can do, say, with 1/8 of an acre.
The standard sizes of gravity-fed drip irrigation. Drip irrigation is that system where every single drop comes to the root of the plant. Comes with the water, it comes with the fertilizers that are dissolved in the water, so the nutrition comes to the root of the plant as well. The standard sizes for drip irrigation are 500 square meters and up to 1 acre. So you're talking about gravity-fed drip irrigation. It doesn't need an energy source. It brings the fertilizer with it. And those sizes, I mean, once you've covered it with drip, pretty much grow anything you want. Put a greenhouse on top of that somehow, and now you can grow higher value crops, capsicums, tomatoes, sweet melons, watermelons, and cherry tomatoes. And people are creating and are growing the kind of quality we've never seen here before. The seeds are from Israel, they're drought resistant. We are a desert in Israel, so it's suitable here. And farmers are growing a higher quality than before. The minute you have higher quality, you've got something to offer the market. Now we always say, let's grow good quality, let's export, okay? I'm a very nationalist type of Kenyan. Before we rush, I'm not really Kenyan, but I mean very proud of our produce and not rushing to say, hey, let's export to Europe or America. Let's look domestically. Right now, Kenya is importing from Uganda and Tanzania. If you look at the amount of land, water, and farmers we have in Kenya, that's absurd. On the one hand, we're dealing with food insecurity. On the other hand, we're importing from our neighbors. We're growing quality here that we should be exporting to all of East Africa easily. Today, I mean, South Sudan is a bit problematic right now, but a kilo of tomatoes in South Sudan goes for about 250 shillings. Here, you can buy it from the farmers at 70, 80. In that crossover, there's a profit. And again, we're bringing quality. So, I mean, what we can produce from small patches of land, using high technology, using the right knowledge, the right methods, could take us leaps and bounds from where we are today.
Thank you. Just talk to me about what we need, because the Kenyan population, if you like, there was sort of a transition, from agriculture. The population moved from the rural homes and came to Nairobi to look for white-collar jobs. About that transition and how we're now going to talk about how agriculture is going to be mainstreamed again, and talk about that being the center of how the country can go forward, grow, make money. I mean, even the youth get involved in it.
I think that that side of mainstreaming agribusiness, the concept of farming is cool. I mean, it's not just about someone like Giuliani who is so central leading such a campaign. And he speaks to a certain audience, a certain crowd in terms of the youth. But it's also about the fact that agribusiness is the most available means of wealth creation in Africa. So we go and search out, and like you said, there's this rural-urban migration where everybody's coming to look for jobs. But come to Kibera and you'll see where a large percentage of them are ending up. They're actually moving to slums. But on the other hand, they own land up country. They just don't know what to do with it. So if you can get them the information about the financing. Today, loans are available from Equity Bank, Cooperative Bank, Kenya Women Finance Trust, Youth Enterprise Development Fund with the Agrivijana loan, Chase Bank, Rafiki DTM. All of these have loans for modern agribusiness which range up to 250,000, 300,000. That was never available before. The technology was also never available before. The drip irrigation, the greenhouse farming, coupled with proper seeds, quality fertilizers, but most importantly with training. We've spent so much time capacity building that we've taught this whole continent how to drive and people don't have a car. And what happens when you have a skill and you can't use it? You get frustrated. On the other hand, if it's very practical, learn in a course today, one day, and tomorrow get your hands in the ground and work. The best teacher is experience. And so the more people spend time on this, now what's happening is the sector is growing. So there's a demand for people to do training, agronomists, technicians, installation, packaging, and the market is growing and growing. And again, as long as you're bringing in quality into the market and in large amounts in terms of yields, farmers can make a lot more money doing modern agribusiness than, you know, when I speak often to the youth, and I'll often say to the youth, raise your hands if your parents are farmers, and everybody will raise their hand. And then I'll ask them, keep your hand up if your parents are good businessmen who did well farming. Everybody puts their hand down because they did it in a different way. Today, what's available to the youth wasn't available to their parents. With the modern technology, with the knowledge which is packaged in a way that can be passed quickly. So we're moving on to a new direction. I call it fast food agriculture, or at least something for the masses. As long as we can keep bringing the technology and the knowledge and the financing and the market and the information closer and closer to the people, the better, you know, they'll do for themselves.
Tell me about some of the good techniques that your company has brought and is bringing in this kind of agribusiness world, because now greenhouse are more, you know, cool, if you like, and it's a common thing. But what are some of these techniques and great things that your company is bringing through?
Well, obviously the drip irrigation and the greenhouses, but also the seeds which are tested, and you know, we don't deal in GMO at all. The seeds which are brought out here. But I'll tell you a direction which is interesting, which we've brought in, which is not necessarily agriculture proper. We were the first to take the discussion to the social media. I remember when I launched, when we went out on Facebook and Twitter, people were asking me, you know, why are you taking this there? It's not relevant, it doesn't fit, this is social media. And that was the image of social media 5.5 years ago when we first launched on Facebook and then went to Twitter. Today, the discussion about, you know, one of the most attractive topics on social media is agribusiness. It's being done on Twitter. You've got youth groups with 15,000 likes, 18,000 likes on Facebook. And the discussion is happening on technology, it's happening on knowledge, it's happening on market. People are exchanging prices. You know, we've become now the global village. It's no longer the farmer out in Kisumu, you know, or in his rural area who can't figure out the prices. Today you've got all of these different M-farms and USSD and SMS methods where the technology is bringing the information and the market to the farmers. You know, that's got to count for something. It cannot be something that you just ignore. The moment we bring technology, knowledge, and we come closer to the farmers, the better off they're going to be in terms of what's available to them and in terms of what they do with it. You know, we often talk about what can the government do. And we live in a country where we're always asking government to do everything. Government can't solve 42 million people's problems. You know, it cannot take everything on itself as much as we look to it. So if I were to say to government, what's the first thing I need from you? Water infrastructure. Bring the water to the people. Private sector has already shown that it can take it to the next level in terms of technology, training, financing, market, and so on. But bring the water to the people, because you can't do agribusiness without water. So I mean, invest in that, in the infrastructure. It'll bring you a long way. You want to be more advanced of the region? Solve that.
But Gilad, I mean, as you wind up, the whole idea is that the youth must be, you know, right now it's okay. It's, you know, there's a good group of the youth who are involved in this, but we must get more youth. We must make it a mainstream national conversation that the young people can not only live, work, and go to school and say, you know what, we can go back and get an eighth of an acre or a quarter of an acre and start something together. How do we mainstream this?
Well, I mean, look at what's happened with Giuliani. We started the Farming is Cool with Giuliani as a poverty eradication ambassador for Amiran, and we transformed into a Farming is Cool concert tour sponsored by many partners, and we moved on to now he's been recognized by one, Bonos Fund, to now take that message to the whole of Africa. So we're not just going national, we're going international with a discussion that is born here in Kenya. Farming is Cool was born here with us. The youth are getting more and more attractive. All we have to do is make sure that what we're offering is real and that they can access it. So Youth Fund now is turning around the loan within 1 month. And that's a 358,000 shilling loan. When we began 5 years ago, the highest loan to small-scale farmers in Africa was Kilimo Biashara. That was about 10,000 shillings. Today we have 358,000. That's a paradigm shift in small-scale lending. And it'll grow and grow because as competition grows, there'll be more financiers offering more attractive things to the youth. All the youth really have to do is keep their ears to the ground and be proactive. Don't wait for the world to come to you. This is about, getting up and doing for yourself. The first stage of real empowerment is getting to the point where you can believe in yourself. If we can get these youth to envision themselves as being successful businessmen and women in farming, they'll do it.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts is just that we're an amazing country here, blessed beyond belief in terms of land, water, and the capacity of the people. I think the only thing really missing is that we have to believe in ourselves, to see that we could go way beyond where we are today, and then food security issues will be a thing of the past, God willing.
Good. Thank you very
Thanks
much.
a lot.
Had a good conversation. Well, we'll be talking to Kilana Sophie. As you can, Sophie has an eighth of an acre. I think she should activate that.
Karibu.
They should activate it.
Yes.
And get into some serious farming. Thank you
Thank you.
for being part of our show this morning. Thank you, James.